Oh man, this Ren plot. Oh man, okay. There is a lot to unpack here. Firstly, the shot composition in the pre-title scenes were gorgeous. I sort of expected that something had happened because of the way that they set up the scenes with the lighting and the lack of voices, that something probably happened to Ren's mother. I'd been under the assumption that she was going to be a part of the story, but obviously not, which is interesting. It's an interesting angle, but I like that we're getting the Ren backstory. Like, finally, we know why she is so dedicated, why she cares so much about this school, and why probably she broke her promise, which I really, really liked. Cuckoo and Chisato getting along is very sweet. Just the Cuckoo saying, like, this is love. Oh, that was very sweet. And Kanon running, just being like, I'm not gonna deal with this, and fleeing the situation. I love these scenes so much. Like, we've seen them with Ellie, with Daya, and now with Kanon. It's fantastic. They're always some of my favorite scenes because they're very funny, but we also get a lot of really cool emotional stuff. Chisato enabling Cuckoo is phenomenal. I love the flavor we're getting between the two of them, and that they're getting along. Like, they have similar motives. Although I've mentioned that I'm not crazy about their motives, I do really like the direction they're going in terms of their friendship. I think that's really good. Pretty sure at one point in there, Sumire Yohane laughed, which was fantastic. But everyone ignoring her and pretending to forget who she is, I thought was very funny. This whole episode kind of cemented Sumire as comic relief, which I'm not crazy about. I do feel like she has been fighting for the spotlight this whole time, like, not only in the context of the story, but in the context of how the show has been written. Like, she wants to be the center of attention, but Kanon keeps knocking her out of that place. And can we just get a little bit more Sumire? I feel like I'm not asking for much, but just a little bit more, just a touch. Just give her the spotlight for just a second, please. I need this. She needs this more, but I need this. The fact that Cuckoo was filming Sumire's campaign video in portrait and then taking screen caps of Kanon, oh my god, they're all so gay. I loved that scene a lot. It showed that they really did want Kanon to run, and I always sort of get this whenever, like, Love Live kind of does this a lot where, oh, X character would be really good at this, so we're gonna make him go do it when they really don't want to do it. Like, most of the time they end up doing the thing and being good at it, whatever. But I feel like in this scenario, Kanon being student council president is way too much. It's too much Kanon-centric stuff. I think that Ren should keep the position, but I also think that there needs to be consequences for her breaking her promise. The tension there is delicious. I'm loving it. So, I knew Sumire was gonna get smashed in the elections. I didn't expect her to get negative votes. That was interesting. Funny. But again, I feel kind of maybe a bit unnecessary, because they're just really throwing every bus at her. The outfits in Cuckoo's Daydream, ooh, they were very good, and I kind of hope we get merch of them. I really like those kind of outfits, both from the current members of Lila and from Ren. Like, ooh, thank you. I love to see it. As predicted, Sumire did get absolutely smashed in the election. For that being the namesake of the episode, we sure didn't get much of the actual election. It was kind of over and done with very quickly. I thought it was going to be the whole span of the episode. This common theme I've been finding with these episodes is we'll get some plot movement and then we get all emotional development, which is fine, but every episode's kind of been like that, and I'm getting sick of it. I'm getting sick of that repetition, and I hope that we manage to push through that when we get through this Ren backstory, because obviously it's very emotionally driven, which is good. Those backstories can be really, really good for the characters as they are in the present. Like, they give us a lot of motivation, a lot of drive, and a lot of character. However, I personally am finding that the pacing is all over the place. As much as it's great that we're getting a lot of this emotional focus, they need to start telling the story again. And they're doing that a little bit. They're giving us little tidbits of story, but we're getting a lot of exposition again. And I'm not sure if that's as a result of them not knowing what to do with all the time they've got from not having to introduce 9 characters, or if this is the kind of direction that they wanted to go with the writing. Either way, it's not really my flavor, so I personally am getting a bit bored. That said, they keep giving me these little tidbits, these little nuggets that keep me hanging on and keep me wanting the next episode. And right now, it is working out what consequences Ren is going to have to face for breaking her promise. Let's talk about it. Ren being against idols for no reason in particular, just sort of as a general, I don't think the school benefits from that, is a very powerful change of pace. In the past, we've had characters that are very passionate about there being no school idols, take Daya for example, but Ren coming in here and saying, I just don't think the school needs idols. It gives us such a perspective on who she is as a person and the kind of things that she's willing to say to other people. She's quite ruthless in general, and I really want to see that dorky side of her, but I also really love seeing this cold, distant, the school is my one key interest and it is going to become my whole life kind of side. I've spoken about this in the last couple of episodes where making a particular thing a character's personality is not such a great idea, but the school is not necessarily Ren's whole personality, it's her motivation, which is a huge difference and I think really good. If we look at characters like Honoka and like Chika, they were driven by their desire to keep their schools open. And Ren, while sort of being driven by the same thing, we saw her asking for the application numbers for the next year. It's obviously something she's concerned about because we don't know really how well the school's doing at this point. And I thought that we weren't having a school closing plot, but it feels like it might be going back in that direction, which I have a lot of thoughts on, but I'm going to save them in case that's not what happens. I don't want to start rambling about the maybes and the what ifs, so I'm going to leave that there. I honestly think that Ren is going to be removed from her position on the student council because she broke her promise, and there's going to be a lot of backlash, I think, from her in particular and from specific students in the music course. We're going to see a lot of conflict, and that's good. Conflict drives stories. So I'm excited to see what happens, and that is currently the one thing keeping me hooked on the story. My prediction is that the principal will choose to have Ren step down, and Ren will have no choice but to listen. I'm interested in the relationship between Ren and the principal, like, do they know each other from before the school got established? Did Ren get herself involved after she learned about the school? There's a lot of really good potential there, like, is the current principal like her auntie, a family friend, or is she a complete stranger? Because the way that the conversations between her and Ren have been framed is that they know each other on a professional level, but maybe not necessarily on a personal level, and if they do know each other on a personal level, the story suddenly gets a lot deeper. I personally really want to see that aspect of the story explored, and knowing Love Live and the kind of plots that they write, we may not get that particular plot, but I hope we do. I think it'd be very cool. Sumire immediately getting on her high horse and being like, well, the only other possible candidate for student council president is me, is very good. Okay, I personally think that she would be pretty good in that position, but I also think that she would use it to her personal advantage, as in, if we use the music festival as an example, Ren promised that they would share the spotlight between the music students and the general students, but then obviously said, nope, music students are front and center. I think Sumire would say, I'm doing a solo performance and the rest of you can be my backup, which is very typical of her kind of character. I personally think would be very interesting, but I don't necessarily see the plot going in that direction. Like I said, I really don't want Kanon to become the student council president simply because everything is about Kanon, and although she is, like, the protagonist, she's the center, it's okay to let other characters have the spotlight for a little bit. I did like what Muse did, where Honoka took over Ellie's position. That was really cool, and it gave Honoka a lot of emotional motivation. She knew exactly whose shoes she was filling and what she had to do to fill them. I really liked that whole arc. In this situation where everyone is the same year, they're all relatively on the same level if we ignore the gap between the music students and the general students. There's not really any emotional stakes yet. Really, the only driving force behind everyone wanting Kanon to be the president is, I guess she's charismatic. I mean, the whole beginning of the story was everyone learning that Kanon cannot perform in front of a crowd, so she's only just coming into being able to do that. Why would you give her even more responsibility to deal with crowds and present in front of people? It seems kind of disjointed. Coming from the standpoint of a Sumire fan, I think that narratively she's a more interesting choice than Kanon. At the moment, it kind of feels like they're trying to get Kanon to do it because she's Kanon. And that comes from both the perspective of the characters and the writers. Anyway, I could talk about that for a very long time, but I will move on. Chisato running while looking up dogs on her phone was really good. I really like that scene. And Chibi's little heart marking on the ear is very cute. Good character design. As I mentioned before, the whole story with Ren, I think, is really good, and we're getting a lot of depth, we're getting all that motivation. So far, I'd say, aside from Cuckoo, she feels like the most thought out, because with the other characters, we got a little bit, like, obviously, Kanon is a bit of an outlier here, because the whole show is revolving around her right now, but we don't know much about Chisato or Sumire compared to the other three. Like, we know about Cuckoo's interest, obviously being a big school idol fan. We know about her background, where she came from, and now we're learning about Ren and her background, but it does feel like the show is playing favourites, which obviously they've always done. The second years have always been the favourites, but this time they took away the second years. They've obviously had to choose, like, oh, okay, we've got X amount of episodes and X amount of time. This is the story we want to write. Who do we focus on? And they went, yeah, well, obviously Kanon, because she's our protagonist. Then we'll do Cuckoo and Ren, and the other two can just sort of be there. I am keen to see what the next episode is about, and if it is mostly Ren focused, or if we still get Kanon focus, because obviously we need all of the characters to be somewhat involved now, and the way that they're setting up the next episode is that it's going to start where this one left off, so we'll begin in Ren's house learning a bit more about her. My prediction for the next episode is she will spill her heart to the others because she's got potential friends with her, like other people her age with vaguely similar interest. I would say that music is a general similar interest here. Being put in that kind of situation, she's going to start just oversharing and telling everything that she's got to tell as both a way of releasing those emotions and dealing with them. The support of the other four is going to be sort of what drives her to join the group. I mentioned last time that I thought Chisato was going to be a driving factor here, and I still stand by that. I think that Ren maybe will view Chisato a little bit differently, and I'm keen to see which way this goes, because I can see it going one of two ways. Either Ren will continue to respect Chisato and possibly respect her more for following her dreams and staying true to herself, or her respect for Chisato will go down because, oh, the rumors say that Ren looks down on people in the general course, so maybe Ren's perspective has changed purely based on that. I'm keen to see. I do think that that's going to make for interesting storytelling and an interesting character arc, because we may get some conflict. If Ren starts treating Chisato differently and in a more stern way, Chisato is going to react probably quite negatively. and we're gonna get character conflict, that delicious character conflict. There is a third potential option that I see happening here, just because this is sort of how a lot of Love Live plots develop, is Ren sees becoming an idol as the only way that she can quote-unquote save the school. I don't think the school's in any danger, and obviously if their applications are low, they'll want to put a lot of effort into bringing attention to themselves. So there is the chance that Ren will see the popularity of idols, maybe through Sunnypart, and think, okay, this is how we can bring attention to the school. If that's the case, okay, I saw it coming, obviously, but I'm really hoping that we get one of the other options that I mentioned, because narratively, they're juicier. We get more conflict, we get more tension, and at the end of the day, we get more character development.